If you're an introvert who suffers from social anxiety, then it's probably hard for you to start a conversation. You likely worry about how awkward you might feel talking to them, or if the other person is going to accept you. You wonder what you're going to talk about, and if you might run out of things to say. And if the conversation doesn't last a long time, you may believe you did something wrong or failed. So before you even speak to someone, you've already put a tremendous amount of pressure on yourself. And therefore, you likely freeze up and choose not to approach anyone. Does this sound familiar? If so, I have some tools that might help you. First of all, I want you to understand something that is very important. Something you probably haven't understood your whole life that can be extremely helpful. And that is that you're likely a certain personality type. A personality type that I call an internalizer. Nearly half the population is this personality type to a certain degree. I'll give you a brief understanding of your personality type, but there will be a lot of videos on this channel regarding personality types that you can watch to get a deeper understanding. In a nutshell, internalizers are mind-focused people. They're deep thinkers who like to understand the world and how it works. They're comfortable being by themselves and prefer solitude. They're typically not very affectionate or connected to their feelings, and most importantly, they're not typically great socializers unless it was a learned skill. All this said, the main point is that you're not broken like you might think you are. It's normal for you not to be a great socializer, and it doesn't typically come naturally to your personality type. If you're going to become better at conversations, it will require practice. Constant practice, because you're always fighting against your true nature. This doesn't mean you can't become skilled at holding a conversation. This doesn't mean it's going to be hard. One thing I would like you to understand is that you've been making conversations a lot harder than they need to be. This is because you've been putting too much pressure on yourself. Pressure to perform. I'd like you to shift your understanding of conversations. Right now, you likely think of a conversation as a performance, where you need to impress people and keep a long conversation going. Instead, I would like you to think of conversations as a discovery tool that helps you find people that you're naturally compatible with. You see, you're not compatible with everyone. That is a simple fact. Some people will be easy to talk to. The conversations will flow. You won't have to think much. You won't have to force it. You won't have to search for things to say. Other people will be more difficult to talk to. The conversations will feel forced. You'll run out of things to say. The energy might feel awkward. But this just tells you something. The people you flow with are people you're naturally compatible with. When your conversations don't go anywhere or feel uncomfortable, it may simply mean you're just not a natural fit for each other. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you, and it doesn't mean that you failed at holding a conversation. Another thing you're missing out on by not starting conversations are learning opportunities. I believe there are teachers that come in and out of our lives. Not school teachers, but ordinary people put in our lives to teach us something. Sometimes these teachers stick around for a while, and other times their teachings could be extremely brief. But you'll miss out on these teachings, which I believe are super important for your spiritual growth, if you don't start conversations. Not only that, sometimes you're the teacher with something someone else needs to hear, something they need for their spiritual growth. So understand that by holding back what you want to say to someone, you may be stunting their growth. Here's the good news. Conversations don't need to be performances. They can be as simple as saying hi, or you could give someone a compliment. Wow, I really like your necklace, or your nails look really pretty. But only when you genuinely feel like saying these things. It really boils down to this. Learn to say things to people when you have the urge to say something. Stop holding back what you want to say. And don't think that everything you say needs to turn into a full-blown conversation. Here's what you'll begin to notice. You may light up somebody's day. You might learn a valuable lesson, something you've really needed to hear. Your conversations will show you who naturally fits with you. And if a conversation doesn't go far or feels uncomfortable, that simply means you're not compatible with that person. It doesn't mean there was something wrong with you or that you said something wrong. So don't take it personally. When you find someone who naturally fits you, you may be surprised how easy and flowing the conversation is. You may even notice time has passed and that you've been talking for a really long time. It's important to realize that you don't need to focus on holding conversations. You need to focus on starting more conversations. In the beginning, your goal isn't to become a great conversationalist. Your goal is simply to become someone who approaches people more often. The conversations will do what they want from there. And really, the deeper understanding is about self-expression. Practicing starting conversations teaches you how to express yourself when you want to. So you can think of conversations as a teaching tool, teaching you to express yourself more often when it feels right. And if you'd like a conversation to continue, one of the easiest things you can do is ask people questions about themselves. Most people enjoy talking about their interests, hobbies, experiences, and goals. You don't need to carry on the entire conversation yourself. Sometimes being genuinely curious is enough. Let go of your expectations of what needs to happen from your conversations. You shouldn't be starting conversations expecting a certain result. Actually, the result of the conversation may surprise you. It could also lead nowhere, and that's fine. The result doesn't matter. You learning to express yourself more often is what is important. That and consistent practice through repetition. If you're honest with yourself, you have likely been making conversations much more difficult than they need to be. What if your job isn't to hold a conversation? What if your job is simply to start one? Think of how much pressure disappears when you think of it like that. You don't need to have a 30-minute conversation. You don't need to become best friends. You don't need to impress anyone. You just need to say something like, "Hi, how are you doing?" Simple. Then see what happens. You may be surprised how easy it becomes to strike up conversations. If you have any questions, post them in the comments and I'll do my best to provide clarity. I wish you success. Thank you for watching. Take care.